Scream Factory has just released Halloween 6 through 8 in a new 4K box set. Now, I've been waiting for this release since they came out with the previous 5 films in 4K last year. So was this new mini box set worth the wait? Well, let's take a closer look. First up is Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. This film will always hold a special place in my heart, as it was the first Halloween movie I ever saw in theaters. I still remember watching it during that late showing with my younger sister and my best friend. It was raining heavily that night, and the small second-run theater didn't have the greatest insulation, apparently, because you could actually hear the raindrops thudding against the roof. And yet, that only added to the entire experience. Halloween 6 is a bit of a mess, thanks to massive studio interference and reshoots from the idiotic Bob and Harvey Weinstein. But even still, it's got some great stuff in it, and it is fun in a mindless slasher movie kind of way. I actually prefer the alternate producer's cut version to the theatrical cut. It's still a flawed and messy film, but it fits better with the storyline Halloween 5 started, and it's less choppy, has better music, more suspense, and most importantly, more Dr. Loomis. Now, most of his scenes were trimmed from the theatrical cut, and his character almost seemed like an afterthought in that version. But in the producer's cut, he actually serves an important purpose to the story. Donald Pleasence alone makes the film worth watching, and Halloween 6, sadly, ended up being his final film. I can still remember crying when I read of his death in the local newspaper back in 1995. Rest in peace. Halloween H2O was an attempt to get the franchise back to its roots, and return Jamie Lee Curtis to the series. And it's a solid film. I remember a lot of horror fans at the time being upset that H2O fully embraced the Scream and late 90s teen horror fad, but I never had a problem with it. The movie is a ton of fun, and I remember it being such a huge event film thanks to Jamie Lee Curtis returning. It's hard to believe she would end up doing 4 more Halloween movies after this. Now, as much as I like the film, there are some issues that I have with it. The musical score was largely recycled from the Scream films, and the rest was performed by John Ottman, and none of it really works all that well for a Halloween film, in my opinion. There's also the ever-changing Michael mask. A total of 3 different masks were used in this film. Plus, you can see Michael's eyes clearly throughout the entire film. It can all be pretty distracting, along with Chris Duran's performance as the Shape. But even with those complaints aside, H2O is a great film. I'm not going to go into much detail on Halloween Resurrection. I recently did a nearly 30-minute video defending the film. I'll leave a link to that video below, but let's just say I really enjoyed Resurrection, and I'm practically the only one it seems. I hope that one day the film gets more respect, because I really do think it's a lot of fun. All 3 films have been restored in 4K from the original camera negatives. Each movie has a Blu-ray disc and a 4K disc. Keep in mind the Blu-ray copy utilizes the same 4K restoration, just down converted to Blu-ray. The screen grabs I'm using here come from the Blu-ray copies, as I'm not able to capture 4K discs on my computer. The movies look fantastic, and image detail is greatly improved over the old Blu-ray releases. There's a pleasing amount of that beautiful natural film grain present, and colors are more vibrant than ever. But here's the thing, all 3 films, including both versions of Halloween 6, are slightly darker now than previous releases. Now, it's not dark enough to be a problem like the Fog 4K release was. Also, the Blu-ray copies here aren't quite as dark as the 4K copies. I believe it has to do with the Dolby Vision process used for the 4K discs, which makes black levels blacker and colors brighter, that sort of thing. It could also have to do with the TV and the 4K player settings. Halloween H2O is a film that has always been way too bright on every home video release, from VHS to Blu-ray. So much so that it felt more like an episode of Dawson's Creek than a horror movie. So the darker picture works very well. Finally, the movie looks the way it did when I saw it in theaters back in 1998. But I will say, the 4K disc is just a little too dark, I think. But the Blu-ray disc looks perfect and is the way to go. Resurrection looks fantastic as well, and for a movie that is constantly crapped on, the new restoration really brings out the beautiful and stylish lighting. Oh, and I'm happy to report the blue tint to the lighting in Halloween 6 and Resurrection is still there. I've been getting a little worried as these new restorations on older horror movies seem to be getting rid of that beautiful blue tint to the darker scenes. Not the case here, thankfully. So yeah, image-wise, it's a big improvement over the older discs. These 3 films were in desperate need of a new restoration, and I'm happy to report that things look great. I just wish the 4K discs, especially on Halloween H2O, were just a tad brighter. Audio options for all the films include a 5.1 and a 2.0 track. Now, the audio sounds great all around, but the lack of new Dolby Atmos tracks is extremely disappointing. The previous 5 movies all included Dolby Atmos tracks. Why not these? But the audio tracks here do sound fine. I just wish that Scream had included brand new Dolby Atmos tracks for these as well. The 3 films are housed in a very flimsy box. I actually like the cover art here, which was taken from the newspaper clippings on Dr. Loomis's office wall in Halloween H2O. The movies themselves come in thick, sturdy cardboard sleeves, just like the previous 5 films. They have brand new art from Joel Robinson, done in the style of the previous releases. The covers have that beautiful fall motif, and I absolutely love them. Each movie comes with a Blu-ray disc and a 4K disc, and Halloween 6 includes the theatrical cut and the producer's cut as well. Reversible art is also included with each release. Each movie is loaded with tons of special features. Most of these features were on the previous releases, on the older Blu-ray box set, and those features were absolutely fantastic. They include commentaries, making of documentaries, interviews, location features, everything. But there is some brand new stuff included here as well. The Halloween 6 theatrical cut includes a new commentary track by writer Daniel Farrens and star Marion Hagen. Nothing new is included with H2O, but Resurrection has a lot of new stuff. We've got 6 brand new interviews here that range from 4.5 to 16 minutes each. We've got production designer Troy Hansen, special makeup effects artist Gary Tunnicliffe, stunt double Donna Keegan, and actors Sean Patrick Harris and Gary Clayton. The new interviews are fantastic and shed a bit more light on this very hated film. That's it for new features included here. I do wish we had gotten a new commentary track on Resurrection, and maybe an interview or commentary with Halloween 6 director Joe Chappelle, who I don't think has even discussed Halloween 6 since it came out back in 1995. Owning these films on 4K was a must for me. I'm a huge fan of this series, and I've been wanting these sequels to get proper restorations for a long time now. I'm disappointed by the lack of Dolby Atmos tracks for these, and I do think the picture on the 4K discs is just a tad darker than it should be. But again, it's not a major distraction. Overall, I recommend picking these up, especially if you missed out on the now long out of print Halloween box set. I'm glad to have the original series of Halloween films in these beautiful 4K sets now. And honestly, here's hoping we get the Rob Zombie films next.